they want Israel to cease fire, but none of them ask Hamas. Why? Because Hamas does not listen to them. None of them is asking Hamas to release the hostages because they don't have authority to talk to Hamas. Even Hamas leaders in Qatar don't have authority over Hamas leaders in Gaza to release the hostages. And the weight of the world is over the shoulders of the hostages, who are the only ones starving in Gaza. I see hungry people in Gaza as a result of chaos and disorder, deliberately orchestrated by a terrorist group. You call that a famine, you call that starvation. That's false. Yes, there is hunger, there is trouble, there is misery. What we saw in Hamas tunnels, when we saw hostages skin on bone, that is starvation.
This is East to West. I'm your host, Sarah Martinez Amir. And since October 7th, we've been living through two wars. The first on the ground in Gaza, a complex urban warfare battlefield unlike anything we've seen in the 21st century. A terror group that uses the very population it claims to be fighting for as human shields, while 50 hostages remain in Hamas captivity deep underground in tunnels. The second, an information war in the media, online, and in the streets of Western capitals. A war of distortion and propaganda. And make no mistake, Hamas is winning the second war far more easily than the first. From inflated death tolls to famine, from twisting the October 7th massacre into a freedom struggle to hijacking humanitarian organizations and turning them into weapons of indoctrination, this is the sophisticated, well-oiled machine built to manipulate global opinion and rewrite history in real time. My guest knows that machine from the inside because he was raised in it. Mosab Hassan Yousef, the son of a Hamas co-founder once destined to take up the cause, now leads the charge against it. He's become one of the most powerful voices exposing Hamas's true ideology, its deep ties to foreign backers, and the propaganda war designed to turn the world against Israel. Today, we're going to strip away the narratives, dismantle the lies, and confront how Hamas has managed to turn victims into villains and villains into heroes in the eyes of the world. Mosab Hassan Yousef, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Many in the international community are accusing Israel of carrying out a genocide and deliberately starving Gazans. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on that are.
Genocide requires intent. Israel does not have the intention to kill the Arabs as an ethnicity, as an ethnic group. Dealing with Palestinians is dealing with terrorism. A terrorist movement of 70 years of violence and chaos and global terrorism is not equivalent to a decent, respectful ethnicity.
Aid groups are claiming that 1 in 4 Gazans are on the verge of famine. There's shocking images circulating globally, making the front page of the New York Times. Later debunked to be, in reality, a fake story of a child who was suffering from a pre-existing condition. But what I want to know from you is, what is the reality on the ground? Because there are so many lies, so many disinformation. As someone who knows the situation and the ideology of Hamas so well from the inside, how is this working in their favor, and what is actually happening on the ground? Because nobody seems to know.
It's not about lies. It's about self-inflicted tragedy where great suffering is happening. This is something that none of us can deny, and that includes the IDF, that includes Israel, that we are not in denial of the suffering of the Gazans and the civilian casualty. But in the meantime, we say that all the numbers that Hamas Health Ministry is feeding the world and is not accurate, and it's propaganda. And all those who want to accuse Israel of genocide, they are accusing Israel of the crime that Hamas committed on October 7th. That was a genocide, or attempted genocide at least, if they had the power to keep going. What's happening in Gaza is a tragedy. It's tragic. There is disorder, there is chaos, and that's the very definition of intifada. For those who say intifada, this is the intifada. Look at Gaza and you see the chaos, where we have tremendous amount of humanitarian aid on the ground that is getting rotten, and we cannot distribute it to the people because of the chaos Hamas continues to create to destabilize the region, so the world has no choice but to submit to their demands. So this is the reality on the ground. There is lots of suffering, and none of us is denying it. But why this suffering? How it came about? Who is benefiting from it? Who is the root cause of this problem? This is, I leave it to history to answer.
You've appeared on so many different networks trying to spread the truth about Hamas and what it really stands for, including your numerous interviews on Piers Morgan. What role has the media played in spreading that misinformation, as you mentioned, those inflated death toll numbers? And why is it, do you think, that the West falls so blindly for it?
It's big news. This is the first time in our life where we watch a war on the social media. We don't even know what's real, what's not real. And the horrific images that are coming from a war zone, where people on the other side of the world are watching it, it's shocking. It's the biggest news out there, and people can have been making careers out of it to play the savior, for example, or to play the
to join the freedom flotilla.
The flotillas, and more than that. So many self-appointed, self-proclaimed saviors of Gaza found their opportunity to fame, to power, to influence, using the tragedy. And we tell them, you are not helping the situation. In fact, you are nothing but part of the problem. And of course, people cannot ignore the suffering. And it's much easier for them to blame Israel, not to blame Hamas. Because how can they hold Hamas accountable? They don't have authority over Hamas. They want Israel to cease fire, but none of them ask Hamas. Why? Because Hamas does not listen to them. None of them is asking Hamas to release the hostages because they don't have authority to talk to Hamas. Even Hamas leaders in Qatar don't have authority over Hamas leaders in Gaza to release the hostages.
So what is the solution, Mosab? How do we end the suffering in Gaza? How do we bring home the hostages? How do we put an end to all of this?
Is that one question? It's a big task. It's the biggest task of our time. Where the IDF had to do one of the most difficult wars of our modern history. So with that said, this is the solution. The solution is through strength. I don't see any way around it. If we as a free world, not only Israel, to surrender to Hamas demands, we are going to encourage countless terrorist organizations to copy the same model. Then who's going to do the cleanup? Who's going to deal with the situation? So it's a long fight. It's far from over. And the weight of the world is over the shoulders of the hostages, who are the only ones starving in Gaza. I see hungry people in Gaza. as a result of chaos and disorder and the collapse of society. That's understandable. But they are not starving. Big difference between hunger and starvation. A human being can go up to 100 days without food and they don't die. Some people fast for as long, willingly. So to tell me now that there is no food for a week or two because of chaos and disorder deliberately orchestrated by a terrorist group, you call that a famine, you call that starvation, that's false. Yes, there is hunger, there is trouble, there is misery. What we saw in Hamas tunnels, when we saw hostages skin on bone, that is starvation. So how long this war is going to continue, I don't know. And as I told you, it could spread much wider than this. And this has been also my concern, that the superpowers start clashing over this. Palestine is a very, very dangerous trigger. People have no idea, and they won't realize until it's too late how to get out of the situation. What's the solution? We need to come to realization, everybody. All those who are blaming. Even when I point out Hamas, I'm not blaming Hamas, because it's not only Hamas. This is an orchestra by the Palestinian Authority, by Hamas, the donors behind the United Nations, for the game, for power, whatever you want to call it, whatever is their interest in just advocating on behalf of Palestine, using all platforms. This is why it's very, very dangerous. This could lead to a much bigger clash, much bigger war. I mean, you saw what happened between Israel and Iran, Israel and Yemen, Israel and Lebanon, the collapse of Bashar Assad regime. All this was the consequences of Hamas' irresponsible attack, which backfired. So the only solution for this, that we, all those who think that they are part of this conflict, we need to come to realization that violence is the dead end. It's a dead end. Next time, when they plan something like October 7, they need to think of the consequences. And the consequences are devastating. It cannot go without unpunished. Such powerful action, powerful karma does not go in void. Like the throne of the divine was shaken in that morning for how many innocent people were slaughtered in their living rooms, in their backyards, kidnapped and raped and slaughtered. This is barbarism. It's very different than the outcome of war as a collateral damage. And of course, many of them, because they are majority, they managed to invert the narrative and accuse Israel of all the crimes that Hamas have committed. So how can this be helpful? How can this be productive towards ending the war? They scream ceasefire now and globalize the intifada just right next to each other, and we tell them, this is insane. Or they carry a sign that says stop the genocide while they're chanting from the river to the sea. So they are very contradictory, and they exist of so many opposing forces. They're totally divided, without sight, without moral compass, driven by hatred, spreading hateful indoctrination. So how can we get out of the situation? How can actually a ceasefire happen as long as they spread such propaganda and invert narratives, and they don't want to take responsibility for a moment and say what happened on October 7 was wrong? Release the hostages as a condition to cease fire, to end the war. So they want a ceasefire, and they mean deep in their hearts, they want Israel to surrender. It's not about ceasefire. It's not about saving human lives. It's not about saving the children in Gaza. If they really want to save the children in Gaza, then they must work very hard towards removing Hamas from power so they don't repeat this massacre. So this is the falsehood that is that brought us here. And not to forget the falsehood of claim of being occupied, to be indigenous to the land, to cancel other people's right, Israel's right to exist, or the Jewish birthright to be in this land. It's close to millions of people who were born here, that they belong to Earth. Earth gave them the blessings and the authority to be here. And Hamas think in their belief they can just cancel the right that the divine, that earth, that existence gave these people to live by absurd claims of colonialism and occupation and genocide and ethnic cleansing and apartheid, all the things that they have been repeating again and again and again. None of it exists. So they are part of the problem. They are the cause. Had they stayed out of it and chanted to release the hostages, had they condemned Hamas from the beginning, had they rejected barbarism and indiscriminate targeting of civilians, we wouldn't be here. This war would have not stayed this long, and the collateral damage would have been much less than what we are witnessing today. So we must come to this realization. Everybody, all those who are now, they choose to be part of this problem, that they must come to realization that violence is dead end. And what Hamas did on October 7 cannot be justified by any means. And it's not about occupation. It's about death culture. It's about barbarism inspired by 7th century belief systems and tribalism. This is the much bigger problem. To just cease fire for the sake of ceasefire and expecting that there is going to be peace. No. Every 2-3 years, whenever Hamas decide to destabilize the region, then they can do it again and again and again. And they promise to do it again and again. It's not a secret until Israel is destroyed. But in the process of destroying Israel, how much destruction worldwide is going to happen? How much? Look just how much hatred and how much. It's a very depressing reality for so many people right now, especially those who just joined the cause without knowing what it stands for. And they started the beginning as anti-war activists, and all of a sudden they became anti-Israel, and now they are entitled for revenge, and they want the Jewish people to pay the bills wherever they are, not only within the borders of Israel. So there's so many things about our falsehood. First, we need to learn how to be truthful and to drop our personal interest for the sake of the higher truth. And this brings me back to our earlier conversation, that if everybody did the right thing, regardless of public's opinion, regardless of public punishment, we wouldn't be here. But now everybody's going with the trend. Wherever the current is going, if the current is going in this direction, they just go with the current.
They follow like sheep.
It's a herd mentality, and it's very, very dangerous. So I wish it was as easy as not to pull the trigger or to just cease fire. If it was that simple, then we say, okay, ceasefire, and the problem is over. But it's not. It's a lot more complicated than this. We are dealing with, I'm afraid to say, but sick generation that is easily swayed by propaganda. And even though benefiting from freedom or reaping the fruits of freedom, they have been advocating the cause of terrorism, barbarism, and destruction.
Mosab Hassan Yousef, thank you very much for giving us your time today. Very much appreciated.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.